Okay, perfect.
This is amazing.
So honored you could.
You are the man. This wouldn't happen without you.
Well, thank you.
This was your idea. So,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
What did you think when you first saw that thing?
It was just fun.
Yeah, it took my breath away.
And we need something in Northern.
Go on the call, but. Oh, there she is, right there.
And you know that.
Well, the thing of it is when you see the site, the old Rita Ranch, the original thing, it was kind of like meant to be. And it's going to be so awesome. And hopefully,
I got to see where it's going. I don't know for sure.
you and Scott and I will go for a ride, okay? Not here having a time, but we'll do it anyway. All right.
Okay, good. It's good to hear. That's why we're here. That's exactly right. Right. There you go. Should we start? Trying to get people seated, but I don't think it's yeah, look at it.
Get up there and take his picture. I'll do what all right. All right, you do. No, don't, let's touch it. All right. All right. Okay. That's correct. All right, get up. Play you down.
Good morning. Would you all like to join us down here? Please take a seat. not like church. You can get closer. Well, welcome. But first, I would like to acknowledge some of our distinguished guests: Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman, former Governor Matt Bevin, Utah Senate President Stuart Adams, Mayor Linda Gorton, and Bingham Mayor DJ Bott, and Vice Mayor Dan Wu, and other significant dignitaries. We are so glad that you are here today. It is my honor, on behalf of the Henry Clay Memorial Foundation Board of Directors, to welcome you to Ashland. I am Jim Clark, the Executive Director of the Henry Clay Memorial Foundation. It's important for you all to know that we would not be here today were it not for a person who has great community spirit and seeks to bring people together, and that is Mrs. Deirdre Lyons of Alltech. We are very grateful for your community-minded spirit and your support of Ashland. Thank you. But you may be wondering, why is a Utah public art project being launched at Ashland? Henry Clay was a great supporter of Kentucky talent and industry. He would be proud that a Kentucky artist was selected, Dow Blumberg, to create this monumental piece. He also saw the importance of building a national infrastructure, one that would not only benefit commerce, but would knit the country together physically. He did not see this come to fruition, but he knew that it was on the horizon. So we are very grateful to be the launching place of this important, significant monument, and to show how we are one nation, one union that is tied together, and the railroad was a great way of making that happen. It is now my pleasure to welcome to the podium Mayor DJ Bott from Bingham, Utah.
Thank you. I want to first off thank Robin and Doug Foxley and Renee Lita for all of the work they've put in to the creation of this monument, along with Dow contacting him and then allowing Brigham City to help find a location in Utah where it will be a home for, at least another 150, 200 years, I'm hoping, right? I appreciate Dow, as you spoke up there at the little breakfast. So in Brigham City, I'm a part-time mayor, meaning that I'm not at the office all day, unlike Mayor Gorton. It's a smaller city, so it allows that. So my full-time job, believe it or not, is I make headstones for a living. And so I feel a little kindred. Yours is on a much grander, larger, and a much more refined scale than mine. But much like you, in trying to help people remember the events and lives of the past, I do that same thing in granite. And so I appreciate and understand the work and the love that you put into this piece. And I want to say thank you for that, because now it's going to be housed in Brigham City, and it's going to be allow visitors and the population to remember the folks that built the Transcontinental Railroad. You know, a lot of times we remember the events, and we remember the end of something, and it's the people that put that together that through history they become forgotten. And so it means a lot to us to see and allow people to come now to Brigham City to remember the lives and the folks that put their lives on the line, really, to bring the two railroads together and connect our country from coast to coast. The greatest country in the world, if I might add. Brigham City is, and President Adams mentioned this about Utah, but we feel that Brigham City is a real crossroads to the west as well. We've got we've got the rail that passes through. We've got several highway corridors that come right through Brigham City that come from Canada, from the northwest, the south, and the Southwest all converge right there in Utah. But in Brigham City, we've got quite a few of them, and so we're happy to have the Spike that will be able to see from all of those corridors and draw people in to see and experience the story of President Lincoln, the joining of the rails, but now the workers that accomplished that monumental task. We're supposed to bring this, I don't want to take a lot of time because there are a lot more important people in this project than me, but I will mention and thank Doug and Robin for instilling a love of the railroad. I mean, I knew about the Golden Spike. We visited as school kids, but having a love for the rails and the Golden Spike has really come to a pinnacle with this project, and I appreciate you doing that for me, Doug and Dow, with this project. It has instilled a real reverence for the people that brought the railroad from Sacramento to the east and then from Omaha to the west. The people that history really has forgotten. It's on pages, but now it's going to be, what's the square root of, it's 43 point what? 43.341 tall for all the world to see, and hopefully never forget the sacrifices that were made to bring our nation together. Thank you very much for letting me come. Sorry, Mayor, I should have announced you were next. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. I was just sitting there enjoying myself. Good morning, everyone. This is a wonderful occasion, and I want to thank Mayor Bott. We've gotten to know each other a little bit this morning. Thank you for coming to Lexington, and thank you to the entire Utah delegation. We have a lot of you here this morning, and perhaps, just perhaps, we can take a small delegation to Utah when the Spike stands up. Yes, I think that would be good. So we are thrilled that Lexington is the first stop of the Golden Spike on its journey to Utah. I also want to thank our guests from Utah who have brought many, many different folks in different areas of work. The Utah State Senate, representatives from the Golden Spike National Historical Park, the Golden Spike Foundation. We have a lot of different folks here. I made the president a little nervous when I said, who's running the state while you're gone? But it's all okay. You're like our legislature. You're not in session right now. I know that our vice mayor was mentioned. We've also had a couple of other council members join us. Councilmember Whitney Baxter is with us, and Councilmember James Brown, there you are. And we're really happy to have so many special guests with us. I want to recognize State Representative Lindsay Burke down here, and State Representative Sherilyn Stevenson. And I also would like to represent the president of Visit Lex, which is our Convention and Visitors Bureau, Mary Quinn Raymer, right here. Thank you for being with us. Today is such an exciting day for our city, our state, for public art, for the state of Utah, for railroad enthusiasts, and the history of the Transcontinental Railroad, and for those who will grow up, where'd he go, and be enthusiasts. What an amazing piece of art, and if you have not gone all the way around it, I encourage you to do so. 7,000 pounds? 8,000. Oh my goodness. We're familiar with the work of Kentucky artist Dow Bloomberg, whose 49 birds in flight serve as the Flight 5191 Memorial at the Arboretum here in Lexington. We're very proud to be the kickoff for the driving of the Spike to Utah. I know at today's whistle stop here at Ashland, there will be an opportunity for the public to learn more about this beautiful piece and the history of the Transcontinental Railroad. This is a story of hard work done by so many immigrant workers, Civil War veterans, newly freed slaves, and also of the impact the railroad had on Native Americans. Lexington is committed to public art. I believe here, someplace, is the city's Director of Arts and Cultural Affairs, Heather Lyons. Where are you, Heather? There you are. We recently completed our public art master plan and have committed 1% of budgeted capital improvements to fund public art on city property. And we're mapping out all the public art pieces across our city. In 2025, we plan to unveil a special public art piece dedicated to our city's 250th birthday, so stay tuned for more details. What an honor it is to be here, celebrating a grand piece of artwork as it travels from Dow's Kentucky studio. One time I asked you, remember, how did you get this inside a building? He said, oh, he could handle it, and it's going to its home in Utah. Now it's my honor to introduce Eric Brooks, the curator here at Ashland, the Henry Clay Estate. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Gorton. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have everyone here at Ashland. This is of great personal significance to me as the great-grandson, grandson, and nephew of Railroad Carmen. My existence is profoundly due to the existence of railroads, and I know the hard work that they did over many, many years to keep goods and people moving across Florida in order to keep the rails operating. This would have also been of profound importance to Henry Clay. One of Henry Clay's signature accomplishments was the creation of a plan for the development and unification of the country. This plan was called the American System, and it was economic in nature. Henry Clay believed that the nation would flourish and division or succession could be avoided through a strong national economy that integrated and bound together the agrarian economy of the North, South, and West with the industrial economy of the North. One of the fundamental planks in this platform was the creation of what Clay called internal improvements, roads, bridges, and waterways to join the nation together and move goods and people more easily about the country. This was a practical matter. Henry Clay, when he traveled to Washington, took 2 weeks, assuming everything went right, to make that journey. Oftentimes that journey stretched to a month or more. To get his hemp to a marketplace where it could be sold for the highest price was nearly impossible, given the time that it took to go from Ashland to those marketplaces. So he had a personal interest in ensuring goods and people could move quickly from one part of the nation to another. Initially, railroads were not a major part of that plan because they simply did not exist. But as time passed and the railroads became more and more a factor, Henry Clay became more and more interested in them. He advocated for the Lexington and Ohio Railroad to connect Lexington to the Ohio River at Louisville, and eventually bought stock in that line and sold property to it in downtown Lexington. Later, Clay was invited to a conference on the creation of a transcontinental railroad that he was unable to attend, but he did send advice suggesting careful study and analysis for such a project. In 1850, Clay advocated for the sale of public lands to railroads and expressed his belief that rails would make otherwise valueless lands ripe for development. It is altogether appropriate that we are here today to commemorate a project Clay saw as an important future step in the growth of the country. It is now my privilege to introduce another historian, a member of the National Park Service. As I once was, I was a ranger and curatorial staff member at 2 different historic sites. I have great appreciation for the Park Service and make every opportunity to visit historic sites whenever I can. So it is my privilege this morning to introduce Brandon Flint of Golden Spike National Historic Park.
Thank you, and good morning. What an amazing piece of art we have here behind us. And I think it starts to match the story of the Transcontinental Railroad and the story that we preserve and tell at Golden Spike National Historical Park in northern Utah. You know, it's hard to overstate the importance of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on U.S. history. If you open any U.S. history book today, any one of them, you will find the story of the Transcontinental Railroad and the people that built it. It's an amazing story. It's the story of the United States. It's a story of visionary American business people. It's a story of government and private industry working together to accomplish something that neither could accomplish alone. It's the story of people, some with great honor and integrity, others with maybe a little less integrity. It's a story of men and women from around the nation and really from around the world who come together to work towards a common goal of uniting our nation. There are stories of tremendous success, unimaginable hardship, and great personal sacrifices. This is the story of a young new nation thriving, while at the same time, the story of Native American nations that are struggling to survive. So for over 65 years at Golden Spike National Historical Park, our 6th national park in Utah, we've been telling that story. And just a few years ago, we celebrated our 150th anniversary, or the 150th anniversary of the completion of the railroad. And we did it in style with the help of Spike 150 and a tremendous event. That same year, Congress, understanding the importance of the Transcontinental Railroad, passed a new law and told the National Park Service, don't just tell this story at Golden Spike National Historical Park, make sure that the entire United States and all those people who live along the 1,776 miles of the original railroad know the story. And so as this beautiful spike starts to make its way along that 1,776 miles, which I've always wondered where that number came from. Was that actually the number, or was there maybe something else significant behind 1776? But as this spike makes its way across the country, I look forward to seeing it. And I look forward to working with the communities along the railroad line and the communities that this spike stops at to make sure that we tell the story, that we tell the story of the amazing people, the amazing workers, those visionaries that wanted to connect and make America better. It's my hope that it'll encourage all of us to learn more and be inspired by what was accomplished, and that we'll also take the time to learn the lessons that this story can teach us. So I'd like to thank Spike 150 and our local and state elected officials for all that they have done and continue to do to support Golden Spike National Historical Park and support the telling of this story. It's an amazing piece of art, and hopefully it will encourage a lot of people from across the world and the country again to come visit and take part. With that, it's my great pleasure to introduce Utah State Senate President Adams.
It's a great honor to be here today. You know, I had another assignment. I was at another legislative event yesterday, so I got up early this morning, took a flight, flew into Atlanta, and then flew into Lexington this morning to be here. And as I when I arrived, the car parked right over here, and I walked into this area. I was stunned. Isn't this an unbelievable monument, Dow? What a great job. And I think I got a feeling as to what people are going to feel as they drive along the freeway in Utah and they see this great monument. It was really an experience for me this morning. Before I begin and get really into the things I want to talk about, I wanted to recognize the Utah delegation. We're bringing Kentucky and Utah together, so raise your hand. I want to recognize, thank you, as I come and see the support traveling here, and also the Kentucky delegation that's here. I feel, I suppose, a connection just from being here for a moment. When I was a young man, very similar to Doug Foxley's grandson, maybe a little bit older than he is, I had a hero, and it was a family hero, a friend of my grandfather's, and he happened to come to our house for dinner. And we were kind of in a formal event, sitting around the dinner table, and they sat me next to this individual. And I asked him a question, and again, I might have been 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 years old. I said, and he was brilliantly smart, a great example, someone who I think had accomplished some unbelievable things in his life. I said, tell me how you did this. And he gave me some advice. He said, I want you to know my brain, my intellect is about this big, but my desire is this big. And as I think about the people who built this railroad, I think about the effort it took. I mentioned earlier that they didn't have hydro units. They didn't have front-end loaders. They had picks and axes. They had engineering that was not, no GPS systems. The passion they had, the desire they had to be able to connect this country together is phenomenal. And then I actually think, too, about what's happening today. The passion of Dow and what we see in the monument. The passion of Robin and Doug Foxley for wanting to do something great to commemorate what's happened back 150 years ago. And I think also about the passion of those that will actually participate and see this great monument. The economic impact of the connecting of the transcontinental railroads, it's, again, hard to imagine. We don't drive, we don't use, even though we're here in the racehorse country, the heart belt of America, we don't use horse and buggies anymore. We don't walk many places anymore. But 150 years ago, we connected a railroad. And 150 years later, we're still using that railroad. Utah's the crossroads, we believe, of the West. The economic impact that original railroad had on Utah is unmeasurable, but it's still unmeasurable today. We still have products that are unloaded in the port in LA and San Francisco. They come across that railroad line through Salt Lake City and dispersed through the rest of the country. Most of the product, especially those of you that love Amazon, you know how important that railroad is today to be able to have those products delivered to our homes and to be able to experience the things that we enjoy. It's a great honor for me to be here. It's a great honor to be part of this effort. The passion that has gone into it by so many people, I just appreciate. And I appreciate my good friends in Kentucky. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the great Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky, Jacqueline Coleman.
Well, good morning. It is always great to be in Lexington, Mayor Gorton, and I know we have a lot of guests who have come a long way today, and so I want to make sure to welcome you as well, and Senate Leader Adams, welcome to the Bluegrass State. We are happy to have all of you here. If you can't tell who's from Utah and who's from Kentucky, probably just take a few seconds of a conversation to figure it out. So, but we all are so happy to be here today, and I am here in my official capacity as Lieutenant Governor, but it's worth noting that I have spent way more time in my life as a history teacher than I have as Lieutenant Governor, actually bringing students from Bergen Independent School on field trips to this very place. And so it's very neat to see how some events come full circle in your life. But I am so happy that Lexington is able to be the first whistle stop on the Golden Spike Monument's journey to Utah. We know the Transcontinental Railroad was an engineering and a technological marvel at the time it was completed in 1869. It united our country, it becoming the first continuous railway across the entire nation. But it's also important to remember the people who labored to make this possible, the people who built it, that worked extremely hard, sometimes in terrible conditions. Some were manipulated during their time, maybe, and forgotten during ours. But this monument aims to correct that, and I applaud the work that you have done to make that happen. And it is so important that as we celebrate this public art today, that we remember how important it is to teach history to the next generation of Kentuckians and Americans so that we can keep these stories alive, not just of events, as was mentioned earlier, but of our people. And so, Kentucky is famous for a lot of things. We are maybe most famous for our bourbon, for those of you from Utah. Certainly basketball, and also horse racing. But we also have a very rich and thriving community of artists that are absolutely worth celebrating as well. And so I am honored that I get to welcome the man of the hour, Dal Bloomberg, to join us. And thank you for the inspiration that you bring to keeping history alive, to connecting two opposite ends of the country, and two very beautiful states full of really great people who have all joined here today to celebrate this work. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here. I'm going to pretty much paraphrase what we talked about a little more informally earlier, but these moments are like the capstone on a pyramid. They represent the fun moment that caps a ton of work, a ton of effort by countless people. When you create something this large over so many years, it just takes a huge amount of effort, and most of it is never seen. Most of it is kind of forgotten, similar to the story that we're mentioning here and that we're trying to bring to life. And at moments like this, I'm very often asked, almost every time, what's it like to work on a piece of art that you're so passionate about, that you give birth to, and then send it away? And early in my career, it was hard. But now I view it differently, and I view it more like parenting, where I am conceiving and shaping and forming this creation for the sole purpose of leaving, for the sole purpose of going out into the world to fulfill its mission and impact people in its own way. And that's what fine art does. And fine art can go and create just a place of beauty. Fine art can go out into the world and create a place of healing, like the memorial Mayor Gorton mentioned. It can go out and create a place of conviction. In this case, I hope it goes out and tells a story. And like parenting, it takes a village. This piece took a large village. Many people are here that worked hands-on with me. We recognized them earlier in my studio, sweating alongside of me, worrying alongside of me. Also takes, and to them, friends all, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the myriad gifts you brought, the way that the role that you played, just like everybody portrayed here. Everybody portrayed a role to launch this thing. In the same way, leadership to make this happen. Very often leadership is behind the scenes, and very often good leadership is behind the scenes and makes things happen. And very often in my profession, when I'm commissioned to do work, my working relationship with a client tends to be over years, multiple emails, working through issues, and very often it's a working relationship. Sometimes I'm blessed and that working relationship becomes a friendship. And in this case, it has become a friendship with all the people of Golden Spike. We've been talking now, I think, for over 3 years, and I call them friends. They've been to my home. I've been in their homes. We've laughed together. We've stayed awake at night worrying together. And now we're here together, and it is a blessing. Then, I think finally, I am very grateful that I was given, I feel I was gifted with an artistic gift. I was born with it. I didn't do anything to acquire it. I was just born that way. I have worked very, very, very hard to grow that gift, and I've been given some wonderful opportunities to use it. But one of the truly most gratifying parts of my career is when I can use that gift to create something that will recognize or bring honor to people that maybe have been forgotten by time, and to be a part of, just to be a small part of continuing the story. This piece begins its journey now. It left the studio yesterday, 50 miles north of here, wended its way through little back roads of Kentucky, through your crazy small streets, Jim, here in your entryway. Might have taken out a street sign. We won't mention that. Sorry. But it's here. And now for 21 days, it crosses the country, ends up on the state lawn, Utah State Capitol. We have a big old party. In the spring, it goes over the Sierras to Sacramento and back, and then we install it. I hope some of you will be here. And that part of it is truly fulfilling. So many stories here. So many stories. Some we know, big names. Some we'll never know, swinging pickaxes in the desert. But one of the stories, a huge part of the story, and a fascinating part that I learned about is the Chinese involvement with the creation of this railroad. I worked very closely with Professor Gordon Chang, Stanford University, who's preeminent historian on the Chinese involvement in the Transcontinental Railroad. He wrote the book on it, and he was very gracious with his time to ensure I was being brought up to speed, and I understood how it worked. And China was being racked by civil war at the time. And thousands and thousands of thousands, mostly of young men, came across, mostly with the intention of coming back. Many ended up staying on the West Coast and in the West, staying with railroads, but they came and ended up being the vast majority of the workforce for the Central Pacific, which was working from California over the Sierra Nevada, boring holes through solid granite mountains by hand, and they did amazing feats. And the journey, the accomplishments of just that one part of this entire accomplishment blew me away and just increased my understanding of history in general, immigration in general, people groups, our nation. It just rounded me out as a person and as an American. So it is very appropriate and it's an honor to introduce the Honorable Vice Mayor, Dan Wu.
Thank you all. I don't have any prepared remarks, but when I first saw the email inviting me to this event, I was surprised that such a thing was even happening. And then when I showed up today and saw this piece, I got very, very emotional. I'm here as your vice mayor, but I'm also here as this 12-year-old kid in junior high in a history class, first reading about the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. And I think there was one line that mentioned there were Chinese laborers on this project, and that was it. And that piqued my interest, and this is in the days before Wikipedia, so I had to find some encyclopedias, I had to go to the library and found a bunch of books, and discovered that the Chinese were 90% of the effort from the Pacific side. These are people who came to America in 1849 to work the gold rush, to kind of create an American dream before an American dream was even a thing. And when the mines dried up, they were all driven away from these opportunities, what little opportunity really was for them. Laws were passed against them to prevent them from owning businesses, from working, from bringing their families. And so when the railroad project started, honestly, it was the only place for a lot of folks to go. And so we heard a lot about the idea of this passion behind this project of making it happen. Well, for these Chinese workers and the Irish workers and the German workers and the African American workers, it wasn't about passion, it was about survival. This is the job that they could find in the place where they can find it, and when it was done, they were discarded once again. So for me, it's so personal and so emotional to see a monument dedicated not just to the story of this railroad, but to the actual people behind it. And my only gripe today is that this spike isn't turned 90 degrees clockwise. And I want everyone to come and look at the bottom side of it, because that's where all the faces are. The faces of all these different workers, but the faces of all these Chinese men who came and left everything behind for this opportunity. So I'm so grateful to be able to speak to you all on this and kind of share my personal story. Dow, I'm so grateful to you to creating this masterpiece. I'm so grateful that you live in Kentucky, that we had the opportunity to start this thing here when, we're nowhere near, where that railroad happened. So I'm just very, very grateful, and I thank you all for coming out, and thank you all for making this happen. Thank you.
We may not be near active railroads for like what we are envisioning with the transcontinental, but we are the center of the universe. So I wanted to really draw attention to the passion that we've been talking about. And obviously, Dow, with your artistic passion to communicate and to bring justice to a difficult topic is incredible. But as somebody who's worked in the nonprofit world for over 30 years, there's nothing more important than the volunteers who get it. The people of passion who set aside their professional work or whatever they're doing to become engaged and to help us make something happen. So it is my honor to introduce a person of great passion and dignity, Doug Foxley, the chairman of the Golden Spike Foundation.
Amy Stone McConkey, please come up. Robin Kramer, please come up. Renee Lita, please come up. So, had a crazy idea, and Scott Sandel, Senator Scott Sandel, Stuart Adams, and others, we thought we were going to have a little party, May 10th. We thought we were going to have a great little celebration. And guess what? That was just the beginning. And little did we know that this was going to happen. And it's this group here that made the magic happen. My heartfelt thanks goes out to them and to all of you. And Governor, so delighted to have you here. And that we could have had you as a school teacher, but I'm sorry I didn't, darn it, but I hope my grandkids do. Mayor, what a delightful place. And I'm going to get the name of the city right this time. And President Adams, thank you for representing the great state of Utah and bringing all of your colleagues. Dow, it's magic. I'm not going to give a speech, but I do want to recognize my two children, Emily Foxley and Stephen Foxley. I've spent their inheritance on this. And so, thank you for letting me do that. And
The other two get their inheritance.
yeah, or look at your inheritance here, okay? And to me, really, the person that's the most important is Graham Foxley. Where are you, Graham? He's probably climbing a tree there somewhere. But anyway, it's really for the Graham Foxleys of the world what this is all about, wanting to tell a story and preserve a legacy. And I had no idea when I started this. I mean, I went back and reread everything, and the story became so much more impactful to me. And I don't know. I mean, we started working with the Chinese community and others, and we found out how important and how touching this was to all of them. The Mormon graders, the Irish, and they've all participated in this. And it's just been an awesome, amazing thing. So thank you for having us here today. I'll tell you, sometime we may even come back to a horse race. You may not be rid of us. So anyway, Robin, Renee, Amy, what do you want to say?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, our next agenda, so,
Yeah, and you've got
Renee, basically, you make the trains happen. So,
No, you do the fireworks.
okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a little champagne toast group photo, but we've got some cool things going here. So, governor, mayor, vice mayors, or what are you? Not vice mayor, assistant mayor, council people, legislators, others. Please come up here. And everybody from came out from Salt Lake City. We're going to have some fun here. We didn't dare shoot off the fireworks, okay? But we got something. Stuart, get up here. Dow, get up here. We're gonna, city council members come up here. We're gonna have some fun here, okay?
Hey, why don't you show everybody how to do it first?
Well, I'm not.
Do you want the podium moved? They're going to move it.
All right. So before you move this, you're gonna get something really cool here, and it says twist.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And then you're gonna twist, and you're gonna follow the instructions, okay? Directions are aim upward, not at the audience, okay? Hold top section with left hand. Remember your left hand, okay? Aim upward, and then we're going to, hold the bottom section with your right hand, and we're going to twist. Okay, now, what we're going to do is, okay, so